can have money.
Thank you, dear. Thank you, dear. Really, it's a wow. I didn't know these lights were that bright. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. It's also an humbling experience for me um, because I'm in the middle of a bunch of legends. And my part of my career, and as I look back at it, is not as excited as some of the other ones. But I spent 34 years with the city of Pittsburgh and retired in 2009 as an assistant chief. And I expected to live a normal retirement life. But then I got a vision. And that vision took me to a purpose that I wanted to tell people about the history of EMS that we all take for granted today, that's glorified on television. And as a result of that, I kind of went on this personal mission. And this mission I was on was to travel around the country telling people about the history of EMS. And the reason I do that is primarily I wouldn't be standing here before you today if it wasn't for a group of visionaries that I had, or I should say I was blessed to come in contact with. Nancy Caroline, Dr. Peter Saffer, a gentleman by the name of Phil Howland, who many of you don't know, but he was a visionary at Freedom House. And what I want people to understand is that because of his vision, EMS is what it is today. And I've been traveling around the country. I've been blessed to go to different places. A couple of months ago, I was at the National Association of EMS Physicians Conference in Austin, Texas, where I was the keynote speaker, speaking to a group of, initially I thought was going to be 40 or 50 people, and it ended up being 2,000. I am a regular participant at the Graduate School of Public Health, and I've spoke with UPMC's Critical Care Medicine Grand Rounds and their Heart and Vascular Institute Grand Rounds. And I was a keynote speaker at Peter and Eva Saffer's our Critical Care Medicine Symposium, the 19th one. And as I'm talking to you today, I really want each and every one of you to understand that this opportunity is fulfilling the desires of my heart. And the desires of my heart is to make sure that everyone in this country knows where the foundation of EMS as we see it today. And that's the mission that I'm on right now. So I don't take this opportunity lightly at all. And one of the things that has brought me to this point is it started out simply as a formal conversation with a writer by the name of Kevin Hazard. And I was talking to him just like I'm talking to you today, and what I didn't know is he was recording everything I said. And he wrote a book that became a bestseller. Of course, I'm not getting a penny from it. Not one red dime. But that's okay, because he is fulfilling the mission that I'm on right now. And just in case any of you haven't seen the book, this is the best-selling book that I collaborated on with Kevin Hazard, called American Sirens. And it's 1999. Don't think that I'm trying to promote it or anything. But it's an important part of history because it outlines my life growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, and spending time in a city that was completely segregated. I spent about 8 years in an orphanage and was adopted by a family here in Pittsburgh that I didn't know I had. And so I kind of grew up with the idea of working very hard to succeed. And my career it started rather uniquely in EMS because I happened to be working as an orderly in Montefiore Hospital. And 2 Freedom House paramedics came into the room and they commanded the attention of that room. They didn't have to say anything. And I was just in awe of these 2 guys. They had afros and beards, which was the style back then. And after they left, I decided from that point that's what I wanted to do. So maybe some of you can identify with me and maybe not. I went to the yellow pages of the phone book. And I found out where Freedom House's locations were, which was at Presbyterian Hospital. And I went there, and I'm an orderly in the hospital, and I'm thinking, how difficult could this job be? I empty bedpans, I bathe patients, I insert Foley catheters, and I'm ready. So I walk into the office there and tell the gentleman, I said, I'm here to apply for a job. He says, great. He said, if I showed you a picture of the heart, would you be able to diagram the circulatory system? No. Okay, if I showed you a picture of the lungs, would you be able to diagram the respiratory system? I said, no. He said, okay, you're not qualified to work here. And I left there that day, and that little voice in the back of my mind telling me, John, you wanted to do this, so you have to find out a way to do it. So I went back to the yellow pages, and I really missed them, believe it or not, and found a EMT course at North Park Fire Training Academy. And the course was taught by Glenn Cannon. And I went there for 13 weeks and twice a week and got my little certificate, and they were giving out patches then. I don't know whether they do that anymore. And I went back to Freedom House and got hired on the spot. And as they say, the rest is history. But during my tenure at Freedom House, I owe this organization a very deep debt of gratitude that I don't think I'll ever be able to repay. So my way of repaying this organization is to make sure that everybody in this country, if not the world, knows where the foundation of the EMS began. And it began in 1967 by a group of African Americans, by society standards, would not amount to anything. We were labeled least likely to succeed, hardcore unemployables, society's throwaways. And as I think about that label, one thing comes to mind: society made a mistake. It didn't tell us that. So we went about creating a system that's emulated across the world today. And that's one of the prime examples of what you can do despite any obstacles or barriers or hurdles and challenges that you can overcome. And during my tenure there, under the direction of Dr. Peter Saffer, I was the very first person to go out into the street and intubate a patient. We were the first to transmit an EKG from the field back to the emergency room. And the example that I love using today is that this world is in an opioid crisis. And the drug of choice to treat that drug is what? Narcan. While I was at Freedom House, we gave Narcan back in 1973. We were the very first to take it out of the hospital, the OR, or the emergency room into the field. And in doing that, we set the standards that people take for granted today. And as I'm standing here before you, this vision of mine that I'm on has taken on a life of its own. Not only this book, there's been a documentary, and it's a very unique documentary because it won an Emmy Award. And this is a real live Emmy. This is not a facsimile or anything like that. And I carry it around every time I go to speak with people because the documentary itself really outlines the total history of EMS. And what I want you to understand is I've also been blessed to, I guess, star in this documentary with the present chief of Pittsburgh EMS, Amira Gilchrist. Is she out there somewhere? Will you stand up? She and I basically starred in this documentary, and it's about her employment opportunities that she took advantage of. And in addition to that, Chief Gilchrist and myself have just completed a second documentary. I don't know the name of it yet, but it'll probably be coming out in the first of next year. And this journey that I'm on is a continuous journey. I've had the opportunity to go to the U.S. Capitol as a VIP guest of Congresswoman Summer Lee. I've had the opportunity to sit next to the president's wife, visit the U.S. Supreme Court. Couldn't get too close to the president, but to see the Supreme Court justices and the president's staff, and those are opportunities of a lifetime that I never would have been able to be a part of had it not been for a group of individuals at Freedom House Ambulance Service. So this is kind of my way of trying to give back that part of history, that opportunity. And I can really not give them enough credit. So as a result of that, I will continue to do that until I can no longer do it again. And what I want each and every one of you to do when you leave here is take that part of history back with you. Take that part of history back to your respective EMS systems. And I understand now that there's a shortage of personnel in EMS. One of my primary concerns is the level of diversity in EMS as we see it today. And from where I sit, that's an easy problem to solve. And what I'm appealing to you today is to reinvest into the communities in which you serve, because that's where your allies are. If you get out into the community and expose this as a career path to the individual residents of the respective communities, I can guarantee you that your employment problems will be solved. And the reason I know that is I did that when I was with the city of Pittsburgh. I designed the first diversity recruitment program in the history of Pittsburgh EMS. And it became the normal way to hire up until the time that I obviously left in 2009. So now we're kind of teetering on the fence. So if you invest in communities, because that's where the opportunities are. And to let you know that this is such an honor, I got a email Wednesday, and the email was rather suspicious, I have to say. But nonetheless, the email told me that I had been selected to receive an honorary doctorate degree from the University of Pittsburgh School of Health and Rehabilitation Science. So next Saturday, a week from tomorrow, I will be at Soldiers and Sailors receiving a honorary doctorate degree. And it's really an honor that I don't take lightly. So I know I have 20 minutes to be here, and I got 4 minutes left. But what I want you all to try to realize is what I've done throughout my career is trying to do what's right. And what's right isn't always popular, but what's popular isn't always right. And I've used that trend for the last 30 plus years in my career at EMS. So as I stand here before you, I thank you so much for this opportunity. This is something I don't take lightly. And just this opportunity, you all are helping me fulfill the desires of my heart. And that's to get the history of EMS as we see it today out to the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you.